Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. DPP explains move to drop death penalty, push for confess peace killer. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn told the Supreme Court that as a matter of law, she was obliged to withdraw the death penalty notice against Roisin Barnett. The DPP had indicated at Barnett's first court appearance that she'd be seeking the death penalty for the crime, but she told the court that her office would be pursuing the ultimate punishment.
In light of the fact, and we have explained this to the relatives of the victims, that at the first relevant date, Mr. Barnett has pleaded guilty to all 5 counts of murder on the indictment. As a matter of law, the Crown would then be obliged to remove the option of pursuing the death penalty as an option in sentencing before this court. And this is a matter of law. Everyone who pleads guilty is entitled to some amount of credit for pleading guilty. In a case where the death penalty is on the table, the law would prescribe or oblige us to recognize that the credit would see the issue of the death penalty as an option being taken off the table.
DPP recommends 60-year sentence for confessed mass murderer Roisin Barnett. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, has recommended that confessed mass murderer Roisin Barnett spend at least 60 years in prison before being eligible for parole. The country's chief prosecutor made the recommendation Thursday afternoon while addressing Barnett's sentencing hearing in the Home Circuit Court in downtown Kingston. Barnett confessed to killing Kimisha Wright and her 4 children in Cocopies, Clarendon in June. Llewellyn says the gravity of the crimes merit a harsh sentence. Having withdrawn the death penalty notice served on the confessed killer, the DPP told the court that Roisin Barnett should spend at least 6 decades behind bar before being considered for parole. Paula Llewellyn described Barnett's action as diabolical.
One has to balance, as a sentencing judge, the public revulsion, my lord, at the diabolical actions and the reliance of the public on the credibility of the justice system by members of the said public to mete out adequate punishment would make it incumbent on us. It obliges the Crown, in all the circumstances, to have made the recommendation of life imprisonment on each count, parole, eligibility for parole not before serving 60 years and 9 months. Kimisha Wright suffered 48 incised wounds, all in the region of her neck, chest, and limbs. Keshawn Henry received 11 incised wounds, inclusive of an incised wound to the neck, which has been described as a cutthroat injury. And that is Keshawn Henry, the 23-month-old toddler. Kimanda Smith, 15 years old, suffered 9 incised wounds and 4 stab wounds. Shara Lee Smith, 11 years old, suffered 22 incised wounds and 2 scratches. Rafaela Smith, 5 years old, suffered 5 incised wounds and a gaping wound to the upper anterior neck. In this case, these were even younger children, apart from the 15-year-old. And the only thing that, according to him, they sought to arm themselves with was a bottle of baby oil or baby lotion to throw at him, whilst he, as if he was some sort of samurai armed with a knife, was intent on carving up all these innocent people.
Grandmother disheartened by defense attorney's plea for lesser sentence for Roisin Barnett.
I am not happy because the sentence was today and it ended up put off again for the 20th of October. And I am so disappointed in Miss Harris that have my nephew case, because she is pleading for my nephew, and she didn't know that or see that the mother of the daughter and the grandchildren is hurting, is pain all over her. She's crying tears day and night. And she is pleading for the murderer. Huh? You want the murderer to get 45 years? Tell me now, if she did have a daughter and grandchildren that someone came and murdered, would she plead for them to give them 45 years? Would she plead for them to count down for the murderer? I would like to ask her that, because I guess she don't have a child, so she don't know the pain and grief that a mother bear to carry her child. So I guess she don't have a child. And if she have a child, I don't think she would stand up and say what she say, because she would feel the pain and grief that I am going through as a mother. The one daughter. The three boy cannot do what a daughter do, you know. Because if I am sick and lying down in the bed, the son them cannot come and tidy me up. But the daughter can do that. So I just want to ask Miss Harrison if she has a daughter and would know the grief and pain that a mother bear to bring her daughter, blow in buckle to bring her daughter, and the murderer just took her life, snatched her soul.
Talks ongoing with private sector opposition on crime, says Chang. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says that his ministry has been having fairly extensive dialogue on crime with the private sector over the past 3 months. We respect the support we get from the private sector, and we have been having dialogue with them, he told journalists, attending a post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House. But he admitted there has been no formal meeting in the last few weeks with the opposition, although they have been having dialogue over the past year. Dr. Chang also confirmed that there is an important point of consensus, which is a critical element in the ongoing discussions, but insisted that there is also a need for a broad consensus on a lot of the measures they have been looking at in terms of reforming the police force, recruiting and training the members, and expanding and properly equipping the force. He also used the occasion to clarify statements he made a week ago for which he was accused of inciting murder by police in responding to attacks from armed gangsters. He said that the comment was part of a presentation in which he outlined the modernization of the police force, including the steps to ensure that it remains robust, although a relevant set of legislation to support the activity has been moving much slower than was hoped for. But we are outlining the additional training that we're doing to ensure that we can get the current number of police officers and train them in terms of interaction with the wider public, including not only the physical interaction, but the human rights issues and other issues related to proper citizen-police interaction, the minister explained. I went on to indicate that the government accepts responsibility for providing the justice system with adequate infrastructure and provide the police with similar adequate infrastructure, and I pointed out that in the training and development of the force in the past 3 years in particular, I could say without any question of a doubt that extrajudicial killing is no part of the force that we have today. We have emerging a modern, well-trained and organized police force, which is a force for good. But the numbers are still low, and we have to look at ways and means of multiplying their impact while we expand the numbers to impact on the current epidemic of crime and violence, which is the real issue, he noted. Dr. Chang said the recent increase in drive-by shootings in particular is what has caused great fear in some communities, as that is what puts everyone at risk, and not just the criminals who have been the dominant force in interactions between the gangs and the homicides, but where gang kills gang members in inter-gang quarrels. I made the comment, of course, but having been to a graduation at Twickenham Park Police College, where I saw a batch of bright, young, capable and enthusiastic Jamaicans committed to law and order, and I said, if the policemen come under attack by criminals, they should return fire. The term I used was fire back, a standard use of force policy anywhere that you go. If you come under deadly attack, you are entitled to respond as, to the quote of the Indicom director, the first right to life is the right to life of the policeman who is acting to protect not only himself, but the wider society, he stated. He said, while there is consensus, which remains a critical element, and there's a broad consensus on a lot of the measures the government is looking at in terms of reforming the police force, where legislation can be used as a force multiplier, and when legislation is brought to manage hardened criminals, the issue of constitutional limits creates limitations. The lawyers are discussing it because it is not only a matter of agreement. We had an agreement between the election, which indicated clearer that we could go for the state of emergency SOEs when the numbers reached 32 killings per 100,000 residents. However, that has broken down and the legal post has moved on, and we are not debating that issue anymore. We have to find room for an agreement where we are in a position to intercept and remove hardened criminals who are organizing killings within communities. I said elsewhere that the gangs within Jamaica are not identifiable political groups or any kind of group that you can challenge easily. They are embedded within the community. Their families are there, friends who they went to school with. They are criminal actors, not political actors, and what we want is criminal legislation to assist the police in removing them from the community, while will be the case to take them to court, he concluded. In the meantime, Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson has sought to defend the use of deadly force by the men and women under his command. During a visit to Star Springs, St. Catherine on Wednesday, where 3 people were fatally shot and several others injured by a gunman at a football match on Sunday, Anderson argued that while the criminals are free to kill anybody in their attacks, the police are constrained and restrained in how they respond. Every single time that the police and gunmen engage, the police must win, declared Anderson. And we shoot Central Mass. That is where we shoot. That is where we are trained to shoot. That's it. And we make sure that our people are well trained, added Anderson, in a signal that people who engage the police could be shot in areas of the body such as head and chest that leads to fatal wounds instead of in their hands or feet. Please remember to subscribe, like, share,